my co-host, I do want to propose a question real quick from an old video I did about almost 2 years ago to February, which is essentially the topic of lollies and how the 3D version of them kind of is, and whether you think it's fine or whatever. And essentially, I was wondering and wanted to kind of pose that question again. Is that something that you are perfectly fine with when it comes to, the realistic models of said lollies or whatever? Because I'm not necessarily gonna lie, it is still a very interesting topic to kind of bring up. Much less, I did find like one mod I was trying to see if they ever really existed, which was like Marlene from FF7. It does exist, and I'm kind of like, oh, finally someone did that shit. But also at the same time, is that something, that is worth looking at? Or is that worth pursuing when it comes down to it? Is that even considered lolly? I'll let you be the judge. But aside from that, I do want to talk about NSFW takedowns of essentially just fan-made material, which I guess that's a weird-ass segue to jump into this topic, but still I did it anyway. But mainly I remember seeing like a few days ago with DOA basically saying that we're taking down fan service content by the fans all the time, yearly. And I always found that to be weird. Like, why? Like, I understand certain content, right? Because obviously you get like your racist content and things and sort of like that, obviously. But like lewd content, what's the point of taking that down? Number one, especially when it comes to DOA, because like I know the creator was like, oh, these characters are like my own, they're like my own family and whatever, and we go only so far, but we will not push that envelope. And I hate when fans make nude mods of the games and push that envelope, but they are already sexy. That's part of the whole appeal to DOA. They literally are sexy as shit and they beat your ass. Why in any shape and form should that be punished on the fans when they take it to that part in extreme and level, right? That's just fulfilling another part of the dang prophecy, in my personal opinion. Like if Ayane came through with barely any minimal ass clothing, like just a few pieces of string covering herself, like at that point you might as well put her on the damn bench, twerk her ass around, and let everybody on a whole baseball team hit. At that point, that's what you might as well do, and again, why take it down? I got no effing clue. Now, certain companies don't necessarily be on that type of timing. They actually will let people do what they want as long as it doesn't reach a boundary where it's mainstream and all that type of stuff, which most companies will be like that. But Sega is like that to a degree when it comes down to Sonic content. Because think about it, a lot of time their whole staff is like, yeah, let's look at the Sonic fan community. What fan stuff have you made? And then they meme about it in a weird way where it's like, oh, I wish I didn't see this, and they have fun with it because, if you're part of the Sonic community, you probably stumbled upon some weird shit at times. And when it comes down to it, you probably have seen some wild in the content when it comes down to, certain characters or whatever that you probably wouldn't normally see. And it's like, yeah, they already know. They pretty much know that you want to dogpile cream in the ass 5,000 times. So it doesn't necessarily be a gigantic surprise. But they're okay with that shit and any fan mod creations or fan games or whatever. As long as it doesn't like, obviously, I guess like hurt their pockets, I suppose. Right? Because there have been plenty of fan games that Sonic fans have made over the years. Fighting games and, just random Sonic games or whatever. And people have enjoyed. And Sega never really stepped in to shut them down or anything like that, which is good. I wish more companies were like Sega. Can't say that for Square Enix because they do that shit with Kingdom Hearts all the time. Which is why so many people are scared to kind of make, fan-made projects and whatever for Cage. And it sucks, honestly. Like, it really does. But that's besides the point. When it comes down to more on the NSFW side, like, you'll see more people retaliate with that than you will see any other reasoning of anything else, which is a bit sad and a bit stupid, mainly because you do realize when it comes down to the 80s of Japan, if it wasn't for the 80s of Japan and how people kind of were doing wild and content back then and using lollies every which way in anime and stuff of the sort like that, you wouldn't have Gensai to exist. You wouldn't have pretty much 80%, if not the whole damn percentage of anime as a whole in the entertainment industry of Japan to really exist in the way it is, if it wasn't for everybody being mad horny in the 80s, right? Hell, some of the more popular anime and more popular games or whatever wouldn't existed if it wasn't for certain people jumping into those lewd ass parts of the industry and then creating the stuff they have today. Like, that's kind of what a lot of the entertainment is built on the back of when it comes to Japan, and it always felt weird how people were like, oh, that era, that never existed. We don't know what you're talking about. When there's so much golden stuff in that era that's probably been lost to time, or probably still have yet to be unearthed when it comes down to it, you know? So it feels a bit sad that people kind of, you know, these companies kind of feel that way, to be like, yeah, we gotta take down this NSFW content when it shouldn't really be taken down. Also, we do know that certain people make content of their own characters, so it's like, what's the point in that? And then you get people that do doujins as well, and then they jump into the industry too, and it's like, well, what about that shit? But you don't necessarily get mad about that. It's a lot of weirdness. Now, certain game devs also do realize that, you know, it's kind of impossible to stop NSFW mods, or just NSFW in general, because that's just not gonna happen. Like, the person that was in charge of that whole ass horse girl anime with the racing horse girls or whatever, getting pissed off at people because they make NSFW content of the horse girls when it's based off of actual horses. They're horses. I don't think they're gonna understand if you decide to rail one of their, you know, anime counterparts. I don't think they're gonna understand that. I don't understand why that's a big deal to that owner, but whatever, I suppose. And that's just kind of like the weird thing. Like, I can understand it if it's on a level where, you know, it could be like a person and they say, oh, they don't want, you know, content made of them or something like that, right? For example, like, let's say Kei-san with her Yakuza model in, you know, that one game that she was in, right? Because it's like, you don't really see people make lewd stuff of Kei-san's character, which, I mean, it is a model, it is in the game, and something kind of tells me, at least a gut feeling tells me, that I don't think Kei-san minds that hard of it. But yes, you are using, you know, a realistic model of what Kei-san is. And to a degree, it's like, alright, well, you can do stuff with that, that's perfectly fine. But then if they say, you know, they don't like that shit, then it kind of, you can still obviously use it, but it's like, you're going to get probably canceled for it. And you're probably not going to get looked into a certain light. That's kind of the reason why I brought up the beginning part of this video, what I did, because you also get, like, you know, models of lolly caliber or on the side of realism, and it's just like, alright, do you use those too? Is that too far-fetched to use, or do you not necessarily use those? Because certain instances, I wouldn't use those, you know, in certain instances, like Alice from Detroit Becomes Human, because we all know the story behind that shit. But then you get something like Marlene from FF7, it's like, oh, is that fair game? Because it don't seem to be the case, right? And then what about, you know, like other characters of the sort like that? And it gets into another realm of gray areas and stuff like that, where it's like, you can use it, obviously, and you'll be fine, but, you know, you could get canceled for it. And definitely, if a dev and a company catch wind of, hold up, somebody used a model like that for that reason, we can't have that. Like, obviously, it's gonna be a clear takedown, for sure, right? But I don't think a model like that is ever gonna hit, like, mainstream. I don't think any mod like that's gonna hit mainstream hard as hell, right? So, thankfully, there should be that. I don't think people are gonna make it mainstream, right? Unless the wrong person ends up seeing it, but that's about it. But outside of that, there's not really many reasons I can see why people would want to do a damn takedown of NSFW content, for the most part, right? Again, they have their reasons, but then there's also reasons where it's like, I don't get it. Like, for example, even when it comes to, like, you know, let's say if Genshin or Zenless decide to be like, yeah, let's take down some content, that's a bit dumb, because one, you do realize some of that content actually does, you know, help produce people to come to your game and come play it and stuff like that. Because there's been plenty of times where I've seen, you know, a certain character, it's like, damn, she about fine as hell. She looking mad nice. What game is this again? Where did this come from? Hell, that's the whole reason how I got into Genshin. Because when the damn trailer happened on that PlayStation event, I saw Amber's big booty ass swinging in the air like that. I was like, damn, what game is this again? Because I was tossed for a loop. I didn't know what to do. And so yeah, it helps, you know, bring in people that probably wasn't interested in the first place or was curious, and then you solidified it because this character is hot. So again, it's a bit of a double-edged sword for a company where it's like, yeah, we can have this stuff, but at the very same time, it's probably not best to, you know, promote it or anything like that, and that's why they will do that anymore. But it's really stupid to just sit here and take it down at the end of the day, because it's giving your content and your brand and your IP attention. Could it go crazy into wild and levels? Absolutely, but even then, it still shouldn't get taken down unless it's starting to harm someone in real life, or it goes into a way where it's like, racism or Yahtzees or stuff like that. And that's like, yeah, that makes sense to take it down at that point, or to, put out a message and stuff like that, right? And then obviously time and places, because yeah, you shouldn't have a nude mod during a damn tournament like they did with the Chun-Li one. That was weird. That always kind of made me mad, right? Or instances where you had the Italian meeting where Tifa was getting railed in front of all of Italy, and Shangling as well. People forget Genshin was there. It was there. It was hilarious. It kind of was, but at the very same time, it was also kind of risky, because you never know what Square Enix could do, or any of these companies could do, if it's on that type of level and it gets that much attention and stuff like that, because they don't like it when their characters are represented in that way, obviously. But at the very same time, people are going to rail these damn characters. People are going to use Yuffie and Tifa like basically a piece of, like, I don't know, a piece of meat, essentially. I can't really compare right now because there ain't no joke in my brain, but you get the dang point. When you fight against NSFW content, you're basically fighting a losing battle in many different regards, and especially with, people kind of getting mad over censorship today of all days, and timing of all timing. You do realize taking something down does mean that other things could very much be affected, and that's not something people are vibing with at all. So, people are very protective of what they want to put out, as much as a company is protective of other IPs, and that's just kind of essentially how it is. But that's really all I want to say for this one, mainly just to touch upon the DOA thing, and kind of want to bring back the video just talking about the whole 3D computer graphic lolly shit, because I saw also like a post talking about like lollies and how they are and how they accept it in the anime scene and stuff like that, and it kind of brought up that question again outside of me looking for the Marlene mod, because I was like, did anybody make it? Oh, someone did make it, huh? Well, that's something. And that's just kind of how it is, right? And it kind of just what me want to see about that stance again, because I think I said like on the lines of like, it's fine, but at the same time, it's like an area that I wouldn't stumble upon into too much. And I do remember people in the comments were like, oh, if it's not real, some people in the comments were like, if it's not real, then it doesn't matter. And to a degree, I'm like, yeah, I suppose so, and that's just kind of how it is, because I'm not necessarily gonna lie, because there's been like tons of even videos on YouTube you can find of Sherry Birkin for like Resident Evil 2, like the remade version of it, where she's just naked as shit, and it's like, oh, is that fine? I'm not necessarily sure. Is that a gray area that most people won't jump into? For the most part, not a lot of people would, but I know there is some people that genuinely would too. So, it's pretty much a to each their own type of situation. But that's mainly what I want to say about this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on the way out. Also on the socials, and like to donate to the channel, go find Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.